I can hear you. Who are you talking to?
I hear you. We hear you.
Yeah.
Unmute. Okay, so if we would recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
I-
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, is Susan on board? I mean, not Susan, Gloria on board?
Yeah, she's there.
Okay. Gifford, unmute.
Okay.
There you go.
This week, I'd like to turn a moment of silence to a story that has been in the news for a while. I'd say about 3 weeks. The death of Gabby Petito and the disappearance of her fiancé. Today it was found to be true that she died of strangulation. So we just want a moment of silence that he can be found and brought to justice and give some peace and comfort to the heart of her parents. Thank you.
Thank you. That was yeah, that's awesome story. So welcome everyone. I want to thank you all for coming on board. We're still waiting for our guest speaker to come on, but if not, I know Liz has plenty to talk about. So a little update on things that have been happening with the club. We're getting towards the end of the year, so we will be asking for new board members. So if you are interested in getting on the board, please come forward. It's not a hard job. We have fun. We all get along, and it's a board meeting once a month and a meeting once a month, and we plan our different events. And I will be stepping down as the president, and I'm hoping that some of the board members will stay on and, you know, maybe move around, do something else. I won't go away from the board. I'm staying around. I think it's time for new leadership. It's been several years. And I'm going to skip down. We were kicked out of O'Brien's room. The new manager, to talk about the old manager, we had a very good relationship with her. We had an agreement that if anybody accidentally walked out on their bill or didn't tip enough, that she was to come and talk to me about it. I have a club credit card. I told her I'll pay for it and then I'll go after the member. That never, ever, ever happened. They were quite pleased with us. As a matter of fact, they held our spot through all of COVID. New manager came in. His name was Seth, and he knew we were coming, and he kind of said, you know, poker game was more important than our club membership, our club members being there. So we lost that space. I don't have any more of my business meetings in that place. I refuse to go. And when I tell other women why I won't go, they won't go either. So I am boycotting it, and I'm hoping that my club members will too. I think that what he did was pretty sad, especially in today's world where COVID has almost destroyed the restaurant business. So, but that's about all I want to say about that. There were words between us, and we are looking for a new place, a new location. If you know of a place that has a meeting room that will hold approximately 50 to 60 people, you know, please call me, let me know, or, you know, let Chris know or Liz know so that we can check it out. We have to meet on the second Tuesday of every month at 6 o'clock because that's in our bylaws. But if you know of any place, I would like to stay in the Brandon area, which can be Sefner, Valrico, even Riverview. So if you know of a place, just let us know. Our board members, current board members, let's start with I'm the president currently, Donna Four. And Chris, raise your hand, introduce yourself.
I'm Chris Rowledge. I'm the vice president.
Janet. You're muted.
Hi, I'm Janet,
And you are, what do you do for the club?
secretary.
Awesome. And Mr. Seeley.
Hi, Walt Seeley, treasurer.
Yeah. And we have Susan.
Assistant treasurer.
Okay, we're there.
Okay, so, and Liz
Liz Conjuro, Program Director.
and Emmett is not on hand right now, but he is our Sergeant at Arms. Gifford and Gloria.
Membership. Membership.
Got it.
Got it. And Miss Mary.
Mary Shepherd, I'm public relations.
And what a wonderful job you do too. I mean, you know, you're out there every month.
Thank you.
These are our board members. And if you would like to be part of the board, again, we are coming to the end of the year and we are looking for board members. I know I've spoken to a few of you and I haven't gotten back and circled back around, and I'm going to do that. But we are, you know, we're a growing club. I think Chris told me the other day, we have 71 current members and it is growing. So that's why we need to get, you know, get new blood, new ideas, fresh ideas, and motivated people on our board. So if that's you, please join. Has anybody seen Cheryl? Come on, Chris, anybody?
No, I don't have her phone number. I just have her email. So
Okay.
I guess we'll have to wing it for tonight.
Okay, so I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll skip on to the business meeting and all of that good stuff. And then if she's not on, Liz, I'll hand it over to you because I know you like to talk. Oh, so do we have any idea what we're doing with the letters to officials this time, Liz?
Yes, there's a couple things we can do. So with our monthly campaign of writing letters to either the Tampa Bay Times, to the county commissioners, to our House representatives and senators, whoever you feel compelled to reach out to. There's so many issues that are of concern to us in Hillsborough County. And so I've picked two different topics that you may want to write about. And I will ask Chris after the meeting to send out a follow-up email with my letter examples if you want to pull from some of those. So the first letter of concern is regarding development in Waimama and the Baum area. There was some issues were brought up by Elizabeth Belcher at one of our other club meetings, and I'll just read to you what she was concerned with. I don't live there, so this is what she forwarded to us. Rules and regulations and procedures are in place through the county regarding development planning. We must ensure that they are followed when developers try to work around them. For example, community plans for Waimama and Baum have been established recently, but an area of concern is Baker's Creek, which runs through a piece of property north of Highway 92 and abuts I-4 on the south. It's filled with wetlands and is essential to the county water flow from South County to Lake the Notasasa. Owners of the property have tried to rezone it 3 times as an urban area when they are clearly zoned as rural. The commissioners need to research all applications to confirm their zoning and not just sign off before doing so. So given that information, an example letter I came up with was to the county commission. I'm concerned about a recent application for development near Baker's Creek in South County. This area is quite clearly zoned as rural, but the application is being submitted as urban. This piece of property is a vital part of our community and affects water flow to Lake Onondaga. I urge the commission to adhere to their own guidelines with regard to rezoning and require an employee to sign a statement that the application is true and correct. When a material falsehood is discovered, the application must be immediately rejected. The developer must also show how this rezoning would help the community. So I think, Fran, you live in South County, you may be able to attest to what I just read off. Yes, you're on mute.
We're very concerned. We have the village plan in Wamama. We're concerned about the development, overdevelopment. But as far as the wetlands go, how far south is that? I'm not very familiar with it, but I'm sure I have people in my community who are very much on top of it. So if you would send that out, that letter to me, I will send it out to my, and see if we can do a letter writing campaign on that. Thank you.
Yeah, and we can,
Vicky?
you can, I'm not sure, I guess we would do it all commissioners. I mean, when you, I think I showed you how to do that the other day, just go on to the county website. And there's a place that says email all board members, and you can send that to all of them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Liz, Vicky Lowry has her hand raised.
Yes,
Hey, all, my concern is that the county has a planning department with a huge amount of people that are paid to look into what this developer is wanting to do with this land. The same thing has occurred down on Lithium Crest, where they've taken about 800 acres and they put in like 1,800 homes. Nobody wanted it. Lane Road. These are the things we need to go after. But my point is, this planning committee that's paid by you and me, taxpayers, because they are government county workers, make the decision and give that report to the county commissioners. 99.9% of the time, they agree with what's going on in development and it can be handled. They don't give any insurance on how roads are handled, how infrastructure is going to be done, where is money going to come for schools, nothing. So that's who we really need to target. I don't want employees, but these people, mainly the main, and I can find out his name. They kind of keep that department quiet. I don't know if you really know that, but they don't really want anybody to know that this guy ends up getting these reports. He presents it to the county commissioners. And if he says, yes, this development can go forward, that's what they do.
well,
So-
also for the fact that when they submit an application, apparently they can fool everyone and say that it's an urban area or whatever. And
That's correct.
And nobody's checking this.
That's correct. And
So
I
that, yeah,
these departments. I have a friend that works in the mapping department. And, you know, I'm always questioning her, even though she's a red. You know, I've been trying to change her. But she is very truthful. When I ask her these questions about their planning department, this is the answers that I get. They bring all of that to the county commissioners. They look at it. If they propose that project can move forward, then that's what happens. Now I'm gonna bring up the case in our across the street from our neighborhood. If you remember last fighting the developer Burgess, who if anybody drives around sees a lot of Burgess signs going up everywhere you look in Eastern Hillsborough County is Burgess. Look this dude up, good old Republican. But anyways, these developers present these plans, and if they don't fit the department, then resubmit back to them what they need to do. Well, they didn't do that with us. And we all live on large parcels of land, anywhere from an acre up to 5 acres all around the area. So we didn't want 5 houses to an acre. This is why we went to the developer and asked and requested the plan. The planning department didn't request it. They agreed with what he wanted to build, only because the people moved forward with can do and said, we're going to fight you to the end. And we did, and they compromised, and it still sucks. I'm sorry, I can't stand it. The eagles fly over and they have no place to go. You know, I mean, It's just really sad because all the land is devastated to the wildlife, besides those of us that appreciate, Florida living. I'm not into devastating everything in my path. So that's something that needs to be looked at. The planning department, who are these people? Who's that one person at the very top of that department that goes ahead with the go-ahead after his people below him go through all the process? And it's okay.
I also believe that they do public hearings.
They do, but
I think, yeah, unfortunately, they do them when people are working,
That's
and
it.
nobody, right, and nobody goes.
and
So-
but if you can get to that meeting with a few people and push the buttons, and especially the developer, you
Right.
might be able to step in and get them to change. But these guys don't want to do that.
Yeah, because if you can catch them in the lie right there in front of the board,
Exactly.
and with proof. So that's something that you have to, the residents, usually just whoever it affects in that little area are the ones that go to the meetings, and it's not enough to push anybody's buttons. But now that we have a largely Democratic county commission, I would hope that they're looking at these applications a little better than they were before.
I don't know, when they were looking at ours, we didn't get very far with them. I mean, and now, I don't know if anybody on with us right now has been down Bloomingdale Avenue, but I was really excited about affordable housing, because that's really a
Yeah, well, we'll see how far we go with that.
really sad situation. And not only that, we don't have affordable housing, but I drive down Bloomingdale, and on this little tiny parcel, one of very few pieces of property that's even left, I don't even think it's 10 acres. They're putting massive apartments, and they start. I mean, I could not believe $2,000. I mean, luxury apartments.
Yeah,
Where is affordability come in at?
I know.
Even
I
if they
know.
want to pay $15 an hour, nobody can afford $2,000 a month to live in a sorry apartment.
I know, we could go on and on with all
Yeah.
that, it's true. One more piece of, I would like to just address, if you wanted to contact someone in Tallahassee, that we're redistricting, and they're in the process of looking at the maps now and redrawing the maps. So I think, a letter to someone up there that we have our eye on what they're doing may be important too. And so I wrote another sample letter that goes like this. In 2022, new district maps will be drawn based on the 2020 census. This process is supposed to ensure equal representation throughout our county and state. It needs to be fair and unbiased according to the law. It is unfortunate that politicians get to draw the maps instead of neutral party. I encourage all of our representatives to be mindful of the law and refrain from gerrymandering to be sure that underrepresented people have a voice. And that's what that's all about. And it is a shame that we don't have neutral parties drawing these maps so they can be fair. We were fortunate enough to have the last time they looked at it, the court said, not fair enough. So they did catch it, but I hope that this time, it's drawn more fairly. We'll see what happens. I know Andrew Learned is going to be taking part of that, and he'll keep his eye on it for us. But just to let people know that we're not stupid. We know what's going on.
Well, they may want to destroy his district. Andrew
I know.
Leonard.
I know. The
So-
county commission is also drawing district maps too.
Mhm.
I took a look at some of those. From what I can see from all of the different map alternatives, there doesn't seem to be a large change that they're looking at. They seem to be just taking a little bit from here, a little bit from there. I don't see anything drastic so far. But I don't know if it's expired yet, but we did have an opportunity to tell the commissioners what we thought of the maps alternatives that they drew. I didn't have a chance to do that, but I don't know if anyone else did, but they did make that public. So that's all I got there. Has our speaker arrived?
No. No.
All right, well, what I
so
had hoped to do was get someone who was the director of the Affordable Housing Coalition in the county. And I read an article which brought to my attention in the Observer, I think it was, about the fact that they had a board that they were putting together with just residents to put their input into what was going on. And I can just read to you a quick, because I don't know much about it, but I will read to you what I read about what the county is doing regarding affordable housing, and then I guess we can discuss it from there. So the advisory board makes recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners and Affordable Housing Services on issues affecting affordable housing development, to assist the county in developing new programs and policies which foster the development of and preservation of affordable housing, and to evaluate the county's established policies, procedures, ordinances, and land development regulations for their impact on affordable housing. The board approves the county's affordable housing priorities and provides advice to the board on proposed projects. What I gather, the services that are provided by the county, some of them, well, they're geared to low and moderate income residents, and they offer down payment assistance, financial assistance with home repairs, among other things. Their funding comes from something called SHIP, the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program. They foster public and private partnerships to create and preserve affordable housing. Funds are channeled to counties and eligible municipalities on an entitlement basis. The funds will go to acquisition of property for affordable housing, the construction and gap financing, down payment and closing cost assistance, emergency repairs, impact fees. They match federal housing grants, mortgage buy downs, new construction programs, and home ownership counseling. And the fund allocation, at least 65% of each government's SHIP funds must be used for home ownership, and 75% must be used for construction, rehab, or emergency repairs. At least 30% of funds must be reserved for awards to very low-income households. Another 30% of funds must be awarded to low-income households. Up to 10% may be used for administrative costs. Let's see. Recipients, the selection of households wishing to obtain assistance through the county SHIP program shall be on a first come, first served basis for single family activities. All possible efforts will be made to accommodate very low and very low income families in order to exceed minimum percent. I don't understand what any of that means, but anyway, it's a problem, and I will tell you just from some experience, and I wish that the person was here to talk about it, but so I go door to door canvassing, and most of the time I stay in my precinct, which is nice little Bloomingdale area. Everybody's got single family houses, nice trim lawns, blah, blah, blah. Well, I was with Javier and Vanessa one Saturday morning. We went to Regency Apartments behind Regency Square over there. I had heard about them and never been there. We did some canvassing there. And I wouldn't say shocked, because I know, you know, low income housing and Section 8 housing. But the condition of the apartment complex was deplorable. When you enter in there, I mean, there's garbage and trash all over the place. There's not a single plant or blade of grass that I could see in some areas. The facility was in bad need of paint job. When you knocked on the doors, the doorknobs were rusted. There isn't even a peephole for them to look through. It's just not safe, and it was filthy. And I don't know, and I'm sure I shouldn't say who the owners are of that apartment complex. I'm sure it's a corporation. I don't think any person owns that, and I'm sure they own many of them. And the fact that it's like slumlords, and nobody cares. And so what happens is nobody cares. And so the people who live there don't care. And so as the people who live there don't care, you'll start to see graffiti, you'll start to see crime, you'll start to see drug abuse. And so we are a product of our environment. And in my opinion, if these people who are the landlords of these facilities would not just sit back and take the Section 8 money, but if they would actually maintain the properties that they have to make the people feel proud of where they live, they would, I'm hoping, maybe I'm naive, but I would hope that these people would take pride where they live and make sure it stays nice and feel proud of where they live and not be afraid to have people come over or things like that. It just bothered me so much, the neglect that happens in low income housing facilities. I was just appalled. And if there's any way that we can reach out to anyone to rectify the situation, I mean, it happens in all of these places, you know, tenements, what do you call the projects? I mean, I guess it starts out with good intentions, but it never ends up well. And I feel very bad for the people who live there. And they're not, and they're people who are working people. I met a person who works downtown for the courthouse. There are people that are older there that can't get around. There are people who are sickly. I met a man who was on dialysis, could barely open the door. People who are on public assistance, people with children, young people who are having a hard time, living on minimum wage. And I can imagine what the rents are in there, even though it's low end. They can't afford it even as a low income place.
There you go.
So that's just my take on and I know I was talking to Commissioner Oberman one time about Section 8 housing and how people will say, oh, I don't want that near me. Well, if they would take care of the properties, you'd never know there was Section 8 housing in there. And so it all boils down to pride in development and to keeping the maintenance going, to keep maintaining it. Otherwise, you're creating the problems. That's my opinion. Conversation, any comments?
Reed has his hand up. He's had his hand up for a while.
Oh, you're gonna, go ahead, let's debate.
Reed?
No, I had my hand up when it came to the discussion of the proposed redistricting of the Hillsborough County.
I'm sorry, I wasn't even looking at the screen. I was reading, so I apologize.
That's all right. I just wanted to, I do know a little bit more about that because I've been following it, and it's a very touchy, tricky subject. So I'll try to give some facts and then I'll give my 2 cents. The facts are there are 3 proposed maps that were created by the staff and brought to the commissioners, and they're labeled D, E, and F. One of the 3 has already been put aside and is of no further import because it's a null set. The 2 remaining maps, it's an internal situation between the Democratic commissioners. Gwen Myers, with Ken Hagan's support, supports one of the 2 maps, and the other commissioners support the other. And I think it's a no-win situation for us. And we were asked to go to meetings and be active and all that. And what I found out is we didn't really have a position to advocate for. And I'm not sure we should, because this is an internal situation among the Democratic commissioners. So until I hear something else from above us in the county party, my conclusion was I wasn't going to go to the meeting because they didn't tell me why it was supposed to go. And what I've heard is it's politically delicate. What the issue was is what Gwen Myers would do would reallocate, that would be some benefit to her district. With the ancillary effect, it would help Ken Hagan in his area. And the other commissioners therefore didn't want to do it. And like I said, let's just leave that stone unturned. That's what I've heard. If Javier or anybody else that's heard anything else can correct me or add information, that's fine. But this is my personal opinion. Just yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be, and I don't think we have an official position. it's like we got enough to do without getting involved in internal issues, like supermajority. Now shut up.
Thanks for your opinion.
Okay, I think Walt and Vicky also have their hands up. Walt?
Unmute yourself.
Okay, me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I think what Liz said about dwellings in Hillsborough County was excellent. I look around here and I see the standards of some places that people are living in. I'm reasonably sure that many of them are rental properties. And I wonder where in the world is code enforcement? Having lived in Europe for 23 years, no one would have been allowed to live in what I see people living in. And certainly not to be able to rent it out. That's something the county commissioners ought to be able to deal with. The control of rental property and what are the standards for people who live in rental property. It's pathetic. Just take a drive around sometime and look at what people are living in. It's absolutely outrageous.
Agreed.
Okay, Vicky. Unmute.
Getting there. Okay. Here's my thing. We can talk to the county commissioners about housing that's not affordable all we want, but until we change the minds in Tallahassee, i.e. get rid of the Republicans, they're the ones that are controlling the county commissioners and telling them that they cannot increase rent. So until we get that taken care of, landlords can do what the heck they want to do. And that is including increasing rent to whatever unaffordable price it is. And it's going to continue to go that way. And it's not just those that can't afford rent right now. It's those that used to be able to afford rent, but can't afford it anymore. And that's an issue. When we have landlords can raise the price of rent anytime, anyway, at any price they want. We have no rent control. New York City has a rent control. We all know that. We need a rent control. And even if it has to be a moratorium for a couple of years to get people back up where they need to be after COVID and jobs and everything else, but we're talking about Republicans here. So unless we really a little pushy about it, we're not going to ever lift people out. Not in this state. You know, we have too many people moving down here about, you know, the big red state of Florida, and they just love it here. And I'm sick and tired of saying we don't have any water for you. So go back to California or wherever you came from. We don't have water because we're not going to have any either. You know, so, and that's a true fact, you know, so there's a lot of sticky points about affordable housing is deplorable in this country. Walt, I agree with you. I've been all over Europe myself. And I've never seen conditions of living like we have. Considering
I can't.
So, you know, I agree with all the unaffordable, but we need to get Tallahassee. They're the ones that are controlling it, not the county commissioners. You can't ask them to handle the rent. It all comes from Tallahassee. Did last year. They took all of that out of county commissioner hands.
Hey, Fran, you had your hand raised? I think she's arguing with somebody. Fran, go ahead.
Okay. Someone was ringing the doorbell. My husband's yelling at me to answer it, and I'm saying, I can't. You know, when Liz was talking about the conditions and the poverty that people live in, yes, it is the state legislature that controls Medicaid. It controls whether, you know, the preschool. There's so many things that need to be done in order to improve their life. And it's very, very difficult to correct the whole thing. But rent control is vital. And the state legislature has taken away a lot of home rule from our commissioners. So when we do write letters and we do call, there is a myriad of things that we have to deal with. But when you see the conditions that some of these places are, I don't know if you've been down to Wamama, you look at some of these trailers that should be condemned, that people live in. or housing that are atrocious, but it's not only here. I was in Orange County the other day and I saw the same thing. It is horrific and it should not be, and it's something that needs to be adjusted on the state level as well as on the commission. It's a big problem.
I
I'm
agree.
sorry.
I agree. Anyone else? Any comments? I totally agree. We do a lot of work as Auto Glass in the Waimama area, and they all pay cash. But some of the trailers that we come upon, their sewer system is just drained onto the ground. It's deplorable. I get it. We have apartment complexes right behind us. I campaigned in there. It was a very scary place to be. So it's been around for a while, and I don't know. Maybe we
Not to
should start
mention,
writing.
not to mention the migrant workers. They put them up, they work those poor people to death and they put them up at these little
No air
shacks.
conditioning. Yeah,
Yeah.
no air conditioning. They do. It's awful. Maybe that's where we should be writing our campaigns to the legislators. That's a good idea, Fran. I think that we should go after them and ask for rent control, because if they're only making even at $15 an hour, some of these people can't survive on $15 an hour.
There is going to be such pushback from the owners of these buildings on that. They will never go for rent control.
Yeah.
Because they get Section 8, so they'll get whatever they want to get from there. And if they I don't know, Bettina, would you know anything about rent control and Section 8? You know it's Section 8. No, I thought you knew Section 8. Never mind. Patricia, you have a question. Your hand is raised. Take yourself off mute.
No, I was just gonna say, in terms of low income housing, one of the reasons that the landlords of what I've found, because I've had a lot of experience with, with low income housing and so forth, even in the community where I'm living right now, back in 2014, Villages of Bloomingdale, that was built as a low income housing community. And, it wasn't properly managed or monitored, and it was in the state as what's her name just described, and they changed homeowners association, they changed management. And what happened was, when all of that happened, then those homeowners, a lot of them lost their homes. They had to move because there was no interest in helping those low income families maintain their housing and getting the community up to a standard where they could have retained their housing. So now that community is full of investors for the properties that are affordable. The homeowners association fees are through the roof. So low income families can't even own properties in there anymore. And what I've found too, because I did a little bit of research on this with studying for my bachelor's, is that a lot of the low income housing communities won't upgrade their properties because they can't ask for higher rents. So that it's like they don't want to make that investment. The government pays them. My understanding is the government contributes to them offering low income housing, or at least a certain amount of units for low income housing or Section 8. Right. Yet they won't upgrade these homes because they can't raise the rent on these homes. And I agree that, especially in Riverview and Brandon, where these two cities have grown immensely, especially since the pandemic. Like I can't remember what's his name was saying, people have come from California, from New York. I was reading an article today that said there's like 9,000 people coming down to Hillsborough County per month, and Hillsborough County is the 4th largest county in the nation right now for housing boom. And the low income housing families are just getting left behind. No one is worried in terms of Waimama, where they're trying to, rezone that from a what is it called again? To urban, is because that will cause them, the investors, to be able to make more money if they can rezone those properties for that purpose, rather than leaving it
Of course, right. They're leaving for the low, yeah, they
Leave-
make more money the other way. That's right.
Right, because then low income families won't be able to get a USDA loan or an FHA loan to purchase these properties. And that'll run the low income families out and not be able to have housing. So it's something has to really be done. And I am so glad when I read the title of this this evening's meeting, because it's something I have been very, very passionate about. And just, you know, I can't do anything, but it's something that I have been watching for a while and very, very passionate about. So I hope I can help in some way, you know?
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm so disappointed that our speaker never showed up, but we'll see if we can get some information, you know, about who we can talk to, how we can get involved, you know, as a community, you know, if we can put pressure on anyone in particular to make something happen. And you know, it also affects the homelessness too. I mean, because eventually you're going to have families that just can't afford to live in any place anymore, and they're going to see families on the street and living in their cars, not making $12 an hour, you know. And look what's happening in California. So you know, it's going to happen here. It's going to happen here. Gifford, what's up?
My question is, how many of these residents vote? And can we educate them on the reason why they should vote and the reason why they are denied certain privilege?
They do vote because the doors that I knocked on, every one of them was registered except for one who was
And who do they vote for?
they're registered Democrats. So go ahead, Fran.
They say that only 57% of those who you register vote.
True, and they could be
That's-
lying to me and say that
Well,
they did, but you know.
Well, I'm just saying, and you're right, we need to educate. Now, talking points, when we do go out to these places, are to explain to people what needs to be done to help them.
Amen.
That's important. But I was going to say something about the Wamama plan is that they transfer, developers transfer certain things around in the village plan where they have to create low income housing within their developments.
That's right.
And the way they structured it was very, very interesting. Hopefully, you know, this will come to pass, but I have a fear, and I see this all over, gentrification
Yes, I
in
was just
many
gonna bring that up.
areas
Mhm.
are going to push out these people who
Yeah.
live in these communities because the land is going to be brought up. People are going to move in. And again, it's going to raise the property values.
Yeah.
And it's going to push out the people. Gentrification may sound good, but it's not a total picture, and it hurts the poor, the working class people. And we have to be careful of that.
I was just gonna say that, yes, you're absolutely right. It's all about money, and you know, a lot of these developments, they start out very altruistic, and then because of the lack of maintenance going forward, you know, it turns into a slum. So,
But that
you know, you
happens,
can request all you want. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bettina.
no, I was gonna say, that happens even with private homes. It's not just corporations. If you don't, even if it's a privately owned home, I mean, they ripped us up and down when we had rental property over behind the Waffle House over Heather Lakes, whatever those, Kingsington. Because if there was a weed growing, and we were renting it out, if there was a weed growing, we'd get a nasty letter saying, pull your weeds. Because they kept the property nice, they cared. The home association really did push it. But there's places like Bloomingdale that can't push it. I've called Bloomingdale and I've said, look at what's happening around here. My neighbor parks 7 or 8 cars every night on his grass. And there is absolutely nothing you can do. There's no ordinance. Nothing says they can park the car the right way. Why do you want to park the car going the wrong way? That was a law in New York, but they park it going the wrong way on the street. They don't cut their grass. I mean, whatever they want to do, because people just don't take pride, and the owners are doing nothing about it to their renters. They're just collecting the rent and not giving a damn. So
Okay,
There's
just-
key right there. It takes 8 people to probably pay the rent in the house.
Yeah.
yeah, as long as they're paying the rent. they don't
Cars
care.
sitting out there in front of the house trying to pay rent and keep everybody happy. You know, who has time to mow
No,
grass?
no, no, no,
Well, I don't
no.
even
The one I'm talking about, he has 5 kids and they all have a car. So that's not the issue. But I'm saying when it comes to renters, the landlords, whether it's privately owned or an organization, or as Liz said, Section 8, they just want their rent. And as long as the person's paying rent, they don't care if there's a hole in the wall and the rats are coming in because they're not living there.
Go ahead, Fran.
You know, if Brandon and Riverview became cities and had local government and local ordinances, that might help. The smaller the municipality, the better, you know, that they can pass certain ordinances, depending. That would be very important. We don't have cities in Hillsborough. We only have Plant City and Tampa, and it was a Temple Terrace. That's it. All the others are under the commission government, and that's not, yeah, so therefore you're not going to get the kind of zoning you would. Now, I live in a 55, or I live in Valencia Lakes. God forbid you should do anything. You got so many people policing everything, but in the over, I don't care. You know, you always have people that will watch, but things do get done. But that's the choice of people to wanting to live in an area, but it's very costly. But it is a small government. And I think that Brandon and Riverview it will only improve, even with rent control, if they had their own municipalities. That's
Donna,
well,
how many,
it's been talked about, trust me.
I know.
And
I was gonna say, Donna, how many times has that gone on down in?
I know.
oh, yes, many times in corporation. Walt had his hand up too.
Yeah, Donna, you mentioned a few minutes ago regarding what I said about rental properties and standards of homes and residences here in Hillsborough County, that you've been to places where you actually saw raw sewage running out onto the ground. The points about Tallahassee are well taken. We know what goes on there, or what doesn't go on is probably better with Republicans. But we have here in Hillsborough County, we have, first of all, the county commission, but second of all, we have a thing called code enforcement. I think maybe we ought to be reporting some of those things. You can do that, and it will create a reaction, especially if you put it in writing. But
You know,
the stuff that goes on
I
around
wouldn't, with these people that we've done business for, they can't afford anything, you know, and so reporting them to me would be,
But you're
awful.
probably not reporting them. You may be reporting a landlord.
could be, but yeah.
But the point being, even if they're the owners, raw sewage on the ground, excuse me, that impacts how many other people? So to say
Yeah.
you can't report them because they might get in trouble, well, so be it. Something has to give. We just can't walk away and say nothing and blame it on the Republicans. We know what they are. We've got to do something, and code enforcement in the county, they ought to be doing their job. They ought to be around looking at those places. We shouldn't even have to call them.
Yeah, I totally agree about the code enforcement. Last time I looked, we had maybe 2 or 3 officers in the, East Hill and Southern County. So,
Well,
I don't know.
until we stir up good trouble, as John Lewis would say, probably nothing is going to change, because just to sit back and blame it on someone else
Right.
Yeah,
isn't going to work. You have to put your foot forward and do the right thing and report these things and expect that somebody ought to be doing their job.
yeah, you would think. Patricia,
I don't think a lot of tenants and homeowners around, well, we're talking about tenants, have access or know how to report. We might know how to do it, or we might decide we can, find the information. But I think a lot of tenants, because even in my community, I've had to, report for the garbage facilities and stuff like that. And I've met tenants that had no clue, you know, what was happening, who they had to speak to and that sort of thing in regards to landlords not being in compliance with landlord tenant laws or you know, other things happening in the property. So that's another thing that, you know, that we need to take into consideration, that low income families and certain areas, that they need to be educated. I don't know how we would do that, but you know.
Yeah, and as far as voting, I would venture to say that many of them may be disheartened from voting because it doesn't get them anywhere. They could vote Democrat, they could vote for all the people who come knocking on their door. And in the end, nothing changes for them. So I don't blame them for feeling, you know, like voting is a waste of time.
And I think a lot of tenants are afraid because they're going to think they're going to get kicked out.
Or
Probably
deported,
will.
or deported if they're not.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
They wouldn't be able to vote that way.
So, yeah, I think, and I told Andrew Learned that, and I'm sure he's been to these, because they're in his district, some of these places. And you see that, and I don't know if it's Democrats' lack of trying, but they can't get anywhere in Tallahassee, I suppose. But like I said, I feel bad knocking on the door and requesting a vote for a Democrat when they don't get anything in return. So that's just it's hard when you're canvassing, and this really bothered me. This is the first time I had gone into a facility like this, and this really bothered me, and I really want to make an impact somehow. So yeah, I'll see what I can find out.
You know what'd be interesting? Instead of when you do public housing, they could set them up as cooperatives where the tenants become part of the governing body.
That's tough.
I know, but
yeah.
this is something that if that could be worked out, this would be totally different. And people become involved and they meet and they discuss and they have a way of getting things done. It's a concept that would involve the tenants living in those communities. And the law would have to change, but when they create a public housing, they should create it in the sense that they have a cooperative ownership, that they help run the place and they have meetings. And all people have to participate when they accept an apartment in that, or it could, you know, when people become part of the solution, they then become more active. And I'll tell you, it's not just Republicans, Democrats. I mean, let's face it, the Democrats controlled the legislature for many years too. We had things need to change. And it has to, you know, we have to be innovative.
Yeah.
And look to see how do we get people involved in their own development.
Yeah, I agree. And look what happened recently in the city of Tampa with the crime, the housing and the crime thing. I forgot what it was called, but a consequence that wasn't thought about is what happened. You have a family, the low-income family, and if anyone commits a crime, they have a certain, I guess, rent control in there. And if somebody commits a crime, they're evicted, or it's a third time eviction or something to that effect. Well, there was a family, it was written in the paper, where the woman had a couple of kids, and one of the kids was arrested. I think it was a petty theft or something. Well, guess what? The whole family is getting evicted. And so now they're rethinking that whole thing. So, you know, I guess, again, the intention was there, because if you think about it, we don't want any crime here, and this is what's going to happen. If you're going to be a criminal, you're going to be out. But nobody thinks about, well, what about this scenario? And you have to be able to cover all your bases with these guidelines. And I don't know.
That's what government aid comes in and shows, and there's rehabilitation. There's so much that people need to understand when they get an apartment, and how to take care of it and what needs to be done and how they can be cooperative with one another.
Right.
You can't have strict laws that say, well, if you're arrested, you're out.
Right.
that's not, that doesn't help. That's just, that's the punitive, authoritative thinking of your right wing people. Is that you
Well, I don't
push-
know, because I think Jane, what do you call, what's her name? Jane,
Thank
what's her name?
Cruz.
No, the Tampa police.
Castro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought she was the one that initiated that.
yeah, when she was chief, that's right.
Yeah, so
But she's sorry she did.
I think she is. Yeah, I don't think she's. Oh, well.
Janet
You know
Cruz.
something? No matter when you have a rule, no matter how much the rule, how good the rule is or isn't, there's always going to be 20 people that figure out how to break it. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or you're Republican. People figure out the way to break the rule. And
Right.
when it comes to anything. So, you know, even if, like you said, a co-op, okay, so what does that mean? So they're going to talk about it, but what if they want to glorify the lobby and one person says, I can't afford that. Now I'm a co-op owner. So what am I supposed to do? I'm the one that doesn't use the lobby. I got to come in the back door. So, I mean, no matter how you look at it, there's always going to be rules that get broken. And I'll give you an example. Just purchased a condo for my mom in Kings Point. And Liz is shaking her head. They are very, very particular. I mean, they know if a package is left at my door. They know if we put a new potted plant outside the house. I mean, I'll go one step further and say they are nosy as nosy can be. They know everything. But not one person on that board knew or wanted to say anything about the fact that the man that lived there took down an entire wall that was load bearing. And it was bringing down the entire attic, the rafters, everything. And I said, you guys are so into knowing what's happening and being busybodies. I said, but you knew that wall came down. Why didn't you say something? So I'm the one that got stuck when I bought it, not knowing until my contractor got in there. So that's why I'm saying, you know, you can make all the rules you want. People are going to break them and people don't look.
But then again, you can't have no rules. I mean, we can see it with speed, you know, on the road. I mean, people look at the road, the 25-mile speed limits or 30. But that's, you know, you always have rules and method, or you have, well, I hate to say, there are fines or things that people are assigned when they break those rules. People have to learn to live within rules, and our society today seems to be open to, well, I can do whatever I want. And this is bad because they say, well, look around. Well, if we do that, then what happens to our government? What happens to trust? So yeah, you have to build trust. You have to work with it. People have to understand the importance of following the rules and the betterment. But that's, I know it sounds kind of, you know, something that is unrealistic, but you bring it down to what they need and how they can get it cooperatively. Yes, people break rules. And there are always people that will push the buttons to see how far, you know, how they can get away with things. But most people don't. And perhaps, you know, we have to work to make rules important to them to improve their lives.
Yes.
But you always have offenders.
Right. All right, well, thank you, everyone. We have to wrap this up, and
Okay,
I'm glad that we didn't have a speaker. But we all have made valid points, and we just need to be vigilant and look out for one another.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. All right, Donna, it's on you.
Okay, that was interesting. Thank you for putting all those questions out there. Let's go on to our business meeting. How much money do we have in the bank, Walt?
Rounding off to the nearest dollar, we have $2,250.
Cool. Oh, we're not doing badly. And
Not
the
too bad. That's
secretarial,
what our bills paid.
the secretarial minutes were sent out. Are there any questions for Janet? If,
No.
if none, then the secretarial minutes are voted on at the board meeting and they are brought to the membership as approved. Old business. We had the picnic Saturday and let me tell you, I was overwhelmed. I was expecting maybe 20 people and it was awesome. I was blown away by the number of people that came out. We had Mariella Smith, we had Andrew Lernan and Mike Harvey all showed up and so it was good. It was very good. I want to thank everybody who came out. Emmett's not here, but of course he cooked and it was a lot of fun. So looking forward to the next one. Anybody have any comments on that picnic?
Gloria's chicken was fantastic.
Yes.
We also,
Yes.
there are pictures on Facebook and I'll put a link on our website if you want to go look at them. And if you're in the picture and you want to tag yourself, that would be great.
Oh, okay. So the Kennedy King dinner, our table is full. We have 10 people at our table. There are a couple of people that wanted to go extra. I am checking with the Women's Club to see if they have any extra seats. So I believe Lucille was one of them that wanted a table. I'm asking. Yes, Fran.
We bought 2 tables. So, and we are subsidizing. So our tickets are $75 payable to the South Shore Dam. So I'm waiting to hear from more, if anyone, but we may have some seats available. And I think Scott wanted to talk to me about it to see if we can open it up to you. So.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep that. Thank you. Thank you.
When is it again?
December 11th.
Okay, thank you. Oh, that's right, your birthday.
Yes.
You're going, by the
I
way.
know.
You've already paid.
I expect a candle on my cake.
Sure thing. Candle on Liz's cake, yes. So I'm writing that down.
I see.
On the new business, the DEC is putting up billboards, anti-DeSantis billboards around. And our club did go in, we voted on sending $200 to the DEC to do our part, our share. I think the billboards has something to do with the kids mask and killing our kids. But
I think
it's
they're
interesting.
changing that. I think
Chris
they-
just put the link on the billboards in the chat room. Read it. That should be interesting. I can't wait to see these billboards as they go up. And in a moment, I'm going to have Jan Schneider talk, but I'm going to say it again. We need a new meeting room. We need it fast. If you know of any place, let me know. Because we need to get back out there and we like to eat and drink. Okay.
What is the accommodation amount? How many people should we say?
Probably 50 to 60.
That's going to be a tough call.
Well, actually, you know, if they have a meeting room, O'Brien's could fit 60 people in there easy.
Yeah,
Actually,
they're a
70.
big place. I was just thinking about Pizza Rock by the hospital.
Where?
Pizza Rock, which is on
Parsons.
Parsons, across from the hospital.
Pizza Rock.
They have a room. It's not private. But I thought I asked Bettina, right? I think I asked them how many people they could accommodate one time.
Don't they charge?
Of
No,
course.
if you
have to
buy food.
guarantee- You have to guarantee an X amount of,
Yeah.
The only thing is there's no door to close it off. It is
That's
a
right.
separate private room, but it's got an open door. The same as like Latin Cafe.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the bowling alley? On
I'm gonna
Big
go
Bend.
check. Well, Big Bend is down by you. We don't want to
I
step
know,
on your
but
toes. But Brandon Crossroads, who's owned by the same owner,
Oh,
they have a room. I haven't gone over there yet on a Tuesday night and checked, to see how loud it is. And that's my goal. maybe next Tuesday night, that's where I'll go. So,
Talking about on Palm River, right?
yeah, yes.
If he was home, I'd talk to him. He's my neighbor, but he's never around.
He's working.
Yeah, he's never around. He's always somewhere.
Yeah,
BoJay, BoJay's your neighbor?
Yeah, my neighbor.
Oh,
Yeah, he does live over there. No, he has invited us. Actually, Chris, Susan and I went over there and had dinner with him and checked out the room.
is he a
But-
Democrat?
No,
No,
I didn't think so.
no. But you know,
so not after I put up all my signs and 2 weeks later, he said put up all his Trump shit. So
Oh, no.
that tells you where he was.
but he's a smart businessman.
He is.
He knows that- he knows that-
He's
That's what I say about Trump, too.
They're great
Yeah.
neighbors.
The
I
guy
can't
at
complain about
O'Brien's
him.
was not a smart businessman. He threw,
No.
50 to 60 people out of that room. 50 to 60 people, I'm praying, will never step foot in that place again.
I won't.
I won't.
Yeah.
I think she was trying to rip me off. I think she was gonna pocket her money. Because she would
Oh, well,
not
we
give
were-
me a receipt, Donna. She would, and somebody else paid for mine, which was $10. I don't know who it was, but my bill was $22, which should have only been 10. But she
We
didn't
were
want,
accused of walking out on several checks, and I know that didn't happen. But
yeah.
anyway, we're looking. If you know of any place, the best way to get in touch with me is send me a text, because I read text faster than I pick up the phone that's usually at the bottom of my purse. So we do have one candidate sitting in on all of this conversation, and I would like to let Jan have a few moments. Tell us what's going on with your campaign. Jan Schneider.
Well, thank you. We're not very much started, but can I say something about your topic of the evening? Because I happen to run a free legal clinic for residents of public housing in Sarasota. And we recently expanded to Manatee. If you folks know a lawyer who'd take on some of this in Hillsborough County or part of Hillsborough County, I found if we select our cases and show up in court when they try and evict people, usually they just fade into the night. We're having a lot of luck as a deterrent. I would be overjoyed to help someone up there learn how to do this.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
mean, it's amazing. I've kept one eviction case going for 11 years, not one of my finest litigation moments, but the housing authority and the landlords tend to have such bad counsel, they just expect everybody to go away. So I would love to help.
Thank you.
I'm
Take you up on that.
campaigning. I would only say it to this group because it's my favorite club. Unless it definitely is.
We love you
Unless
too.
District changes greatly. District 16 was not winnable. David Shapiro and Margaret Good each spent over $5 million on those races. Now, I run a free legal clinic for residents of public housing. My clients cannot come up with much money, though they do help. But I'll tell you what we can do, and it's vital, and I want your help. We're already doing it. In any congressional race, maybe 8% of the districts in the country are competitive. But a major job of candidates is to help the top of the ticket. We had trouble persuading candidates to distribute Bill Nelson literature, please, in 2018. You know, I'm not dumb, I can count. And what we can do with our campaign, maybe it'll be winnable if redistricting pushes the district north. If it goes south, we've got Greg Stubbe, and he'll probably shoot all the Democrats for all I know. He's so big on guns. What we can do, though, is potentially go a long way to swinging the race against DeSantis, whichever candidate it is. I have a proven record of bringing out up to 9,000 progressives who otherwise typically don't vote. This governor's race, again, is going to be within 0.5%.
Yep.
To me, it's worth the time and effort to be able to go a lot of places around here and campaign against DeSantis. If you will look on my Facebook page, I recently put just a plain blue square from the Charlotte County Club, which said DeSanticize Florida.
Right,
And
right.
I got 46,000 comments. More were favorable than unfavorable, but it shows you, we started out trying to answer them and gave up because when it got above 5,000, but this is a hotly felt subject, and regardless of the winnability of District 16 or District 15, we have the potential to sway the state. Sarasota and Hillsborough County are two of really only 4 counties anywhere in this state that swing as much as they do. So I'm trying to explain to people I would not like to be quoted on saying, gee, I'm running a race that might not be winnable. It wasn't winnable on 100 times what we spend, but you have to define winning. Also, I care very much about Medicare for all, it always have. And when we started running, 3% of the voters here supported it, even voluntary. Now it's up to 48%. So now this is a real opportunity to push an issue. That's all I have to say. I found this evening fascinating.
Thank you, Jan.
You wouldn't believe some of the cases we get. They're trying to throw out a retarded, disabled woman because her adult daughter who comes to help her got in as a fight on the street with another woman. Now, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's going to cause homelessness. You're going to see. Yeah.
It is. It's not going to. It is.
Chris, you have a question?
Unfortunately, in Sarasota, we have a Democratic city commission, and we have similar problems. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have a question?
No, this is an announcement. I guess I'll make it when we're all done here. But Jan, you might want to put your website on the in the chat room.
It'll be up in a decent form in about a week. I redid the whole thing.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Oh, Jan, send it to me also.
I will do so. Thank you.
It's free.
Vern Buchanan has this crazy opponent. Martin Hyde is a dead out bigot. If he had any chance of winning, I would do an endorsement in the Republican race. I disagree with Vern on almost every subject, but he's not a bigot. And Martin Hyde has a history of horrible racially motivated comments. And he's running on that.
Yeah, well, with Trump, they're all running on stuff like that.
Yeah, well.
It's ridiculous. Thank you, Jan, for coming out and, and joining in.
Your club. Don't say thank you. I enjoy it.
I think that I'm kind of glad we didn't have a speaker. I think that all of us speaking on the subject was much more interesting, but is there any other discussion? Anything going on that we need to know?
No, but that sign was great.
Yeah,
You
it
like
was.
Yeah.
Go Fran.
We need t-shirts made.
Yeah, there was another one
sanitize.
at your meeting, Abort DeSantis. Remember that one?
Yeah, no heartbeat detected.
Yeah. Oh, well, next month is going to be interesting too, because Jessica Vaughn, am I right,
Yeah.
Liz?
Yes.
Jessica Vaughn from the school board, and that she is mighty. I've known her for years, and she's going to bring a lot to talk about. So I'm looking forward to that one too.
Yeah, and after that, we've got Sean Shaw, which I love to say with my New York accent, Sean Shaw.
Sean Shaw.
Sean Shaw is going to be after that. He's got an organization called People Over Profits, and So you
Isn't
can
he
talk about-
also running for Attorney General again?
No,
No?
not that I saw. He's
I-
working on Chris,
Chris Kent?
what's his name? Chris's
Oh, yeah.
campaign. I saw in the newspapers today.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's not running for anything that I know of.
Who is he working for? I'm sorry,
Charlie Chris.
Charlie Crist. Okay,
Charlie Chris, thank you.
Charlie Crist. Yeah.
It's a bitch getting old, man. You can't remember. people's names. I know.
Oh, so hopefully we'll find a new location. I would like to find one before our next meeting, but who knows? So if, it would be great. And I'm looking forward to listening to Jessica. Is there anything else before we say goodnight?
Yes, our elections for our offices are in March. Donna's
Yeah.
been doing the job for 6 years. I've been doing it for 14. About maybe only 10 to 14, whatever. And I know Walt's been treasurer for a good number of years. We're looking for people to run for one of the offices. If you've got some time and want to step up, we'd appreciate it. And remember, we got to do this in March. So
Yep.
the earlier we know, and then you can come to the board meetings, which you're welcome to, even if you're not going to run. But we'd be, I'd really like it if everybody would think about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not a hard job. I think mine's probably the easiest of all. I have all these people that do the work, and then I just take the credit. So it's not hard. So, and I mean, the board meetings are friendly. We don't argue and fight and throw food at each other. So
Sometimes.
yeah. Oh, so anyway, think about it. We need your help. We need to keep this club growing and new ideas. We need new ideas. People to come in and motivate the members to get out there. We've got a very important election coming up. And, and truthfully, I guess I'm kind of burnt out. So we need somebody to take the reins and take control. So, Jan, I wish you were here over on this side.
My dog says thank you. It's his first Democratic Club meeting.
Oh, no, he's ridden, didn't he ride on the trolley? He rode in the trolley, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he just joined us.
Oh, goodness. Well, if that's it, everyone have a good week, and we will see you all hopefully next month.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Night, everybody.
Night, everybody.